My top 10 dark nursery rhymes. Number 10. Baa Black Sheep. Though most scholars agree that Baa Black Sheep is about the great custom, a tax on wool that was introduced in 1257, it uses the color black as the word master, led some to wonder whether there was a radical message as its center. Its political correctness was called into question yet again in the late pattern of the 20th century, with some schools banning it from being repeated in classrooms and others simply switched out the word black for something else deemed less offensive. In 2011, news.com.au reported on the pro-life of Baa Rainbow Sheep as an alternative. Number 9. Eeny, meeny, miny, mo. No, there's nothing particularly inflammatory about this line, eeny, meeny, miny, mo, catch a tiger by his toe, but there is when you consider that the word tiger is a relatively new development in this counting rhyme as a replacement for the N-word. Even with the lyrics switched out, any reference to the poem still has the ability to offend. In 2014, 2 passengers sued Southwest Airlines for the international infliction of emotional distress, following an incident where a flight attendant uses the rhythm in a humorous fashion during takeoff when she told the passengers, "Eeny, meeny, miny, mo, please sit down, it's time to go." Number 8. Humpty Dumpty. A quick reading above shows at no point does it ever mention that Humpty Dumpty is an egg. Some believe that's because Humpty Dumpty was actually a new type of cannon used in the English Civil War, only to shatter when first lit. Others, however, believe the term refers to a type of brandy or a clumsy person, which together gives you fall down drunk, of course. The fact that horses could be called upon to a soldier's military weapon back together to perform surgery on a problem drinker's shattered spine tells us all we really need to know about the old England's doctors and medicals and lax admission policies. Number 8. Rockabye Baby. One interpretation of this famous lullaby is that it is about the son of King James II and England, and Mary of Modena. It is widely believed that the boy was not their son at all, but a child who was brought into the birthing room and was passed off as their own in order to ensure a Roman Catholic heir to the throne. Number 6. Jack and Jill. Admit it, you fooled around with the lyrics to Jack and Jill a bit yourself when you were younger, turning what you thought was an innocent poem into something a little bit naughty, but its origins aren't as clean-cut as you probably imagined. One of the most common theories surrounding this story's origin is that it's about Francis Lewis and his wife, who were both found guilty of treason and subsequently beheaded. More common is that those events occurred nearly 30 years after Jack and Jill was first written. The more likely possibility is that it's an amount of King Charles I attempting to reform the tax of liquid measures. When Parliament rejected his suggestion, he instead made sure that the volume was reduced on half and quarter pints, known as Jack and Jill's respectively. Number 5. London Bridge is falling down. There have been a lot of theories over the years as to what the collapse of the London Bridge in the song means. Some believe it refers to the Viking attack back in the 11th century. As no documented record of such an attack, the bridge exists, however, will insisted focus on a direct interpretation and merriment. It was though too awful to be anything but rhymes. Be anything but myths. But some documented cases have been recorded. They turned up a slew of bodies within the walls of several old European structures, including castles, churches, and in the cases of Bremen, Germany, at least one bridge, in other words, London Bridge, is most likely a reference to the sacrifice of a child within the bridge's base to serve as an eternal watchman. Not convinced? There's a game that children play while singing this little dirty, where two of them join hands and form an arch, while the other one takes turns running around underneath until the end of the song, at which point, hands are lowered and the last child is captured within. That's right, your kids are out there on the playground right now practicing ritual sacrifice. And you thought video games taught bad behavior. Number 4. 3 blind mice. 3 blind mice is supposedly yet another thing to Bloody Mary's reign, with the trio in question believed to be the group of Protestants, bishops. These are 3 noblemen who were conspired to overthrow the queen and were burned at the stake for their heresy. Critics suggest that the blindness in the title refers to their religion beliefs. Number 3. Mary, Mary, quite contrary. Contrary is one way to describe a murderous psychopath. This popular English nursery rhyme, which reads like a salutation for gardening advice, is actually a recounting of the homicidal nature of Queen Mary I of England, aka Bloody Mary. A fierce believer in Catholicism, her reign as queen from 1552 to 1558 was marked by the execution of hundreds of Protestants. At the time, kept their money tied around the thigh with a ribbon, as in prostitutes and them. Number 2. Lucy Locket. Lucy lost her pocket and Kitty Fisher found it. Not a penny was there in it, only a ribbon around it. Both Lucy and Kitty were real people back in the 18th century. Lucy Locket was a barmaid and sometimes prostitute. When one of her wealthy lovers, the Pocket, lost all his money, she dropped him like a hot potato, only to learn afterwards that her rival Kitty Fisher had taken up with him despite his poverty, not a penny. The spat between the two ladies was well known at the time. The Kitty taunted Lucy for dropping her lover. Kitty claimed she found a ribbon around him, a jealous jibe at Lucy, as prostitutes at the time kept their money tied around their thigh with a ribbon, like I said, with Mary, Mary, quite contrary. Number 1, Ring Around the Rosie. Considering that some of today's classic nursery rhymes are more than 2 centuries old, there are often several theories surrounding their origins, and not a lot of sound proof about which argument is correct. But all the outlined nursery rhymes backstories, Ring Around the Rosie is probably the most infamous. Though its lyrics and even its title have gone through some changes over the years, the most popular contention is that the sing-songy version refers to the 1665 Great Plague of London, the Rosie. It's the rash that covers the afflicted, the smell that which attempts to cover up with a pocket full of posies. The plague killed nearly 15% of the country's population, which makes the final verse, ashes, ashes, we all fall down. Rather self-explanatory. Those are my top 10 dark nursery rhymes, and I'm sorry if I stuttered a lot. I was having problems reading because I have a thing I wrote down to make sure I said everything right. I hope you enjoyed this, and be sure to wait for my next top 10.